I woke up in complete darkness. At first, I thought I was dreaming. A nightmare, maybe. I couldn't see anything, couldn't move much. Just the press of something firm all around me, and the sound of my own breath bouncing back against something inches from my mouth. I tried to stretch. My arms hit walls. I tried to sit up. My forehead struck something solid. Then I felt the air warm, stale, hard to pull in. I reached out again, slower this time, and felt wood. It was above me, beside me, beneath me, rough and close. And that's when I knew I wasn't in a room. I was in a box, underground. I didn't panic right away. I wish I had. I think my brain couldn't process it fast enough. I laid there for maybe 10 full seconds just trying to make sense of the space. Then the weight of it hit me, the pressure, the silence, the air that already felt thinner than it should have been. I started screaming. It didn't help. The sound bounced back at me like I was yelling into a pillow. My throat dried out fast. The air grew hotter. I started kicking, pushing, anything to move the walls. They didn't give. I reached for my pocket, nothing. No phone, no keys, no wallet, just fabric. Whoever did this had stripped me of everything but my clothes. I don't know how long I pounded on the lid, long enough to bruise my hands. The box was just tall enough for me to bend my knees slightly, long enough to lie down. Not wide. I think it had been built for this, like someone had measured me. The worst part was the silence. No wind, no sound of dirt shifting. Just me, alone, below. I started trying to think logically. What's the last thing I remembered? Where had I been? It was hard. My memory was foggy, like someone had smeared oil across the last few hours of my brain. I remembered getting into my car. Nighttime. A parking garage. Then, nothing. I felt my scalp. A bump. Not bleeding, but sore. I'd been hit, drugged maybe. That meant someone had planned this. Someone had taken me. Someone had gone through the effort to build this box. Drive me to the middle of nowhere. Dig a hole deep enough to hide me. And they hadn't planned on letting me out. I tried again. Pushed my feet against one side. Pressed my shoulders into the opposite. Braced. Forced pressure upward. The lid groaned. Not loudly, but enough. Something shifted. A crack opened along the edge. A thin stream of dirt dropped through, hitting my cheek. Then more. The crack widened. I kicked harder. The lid began to sag inward. Not enough. I stopped. I realized the more I opened it, the faster the dirt would collapse in. If I couldn't move fast, I'd be suffocated. I felt along the edges. There were nails. Long ones. Driven deep. But not bolted. If I could weaken the frame. I pulled one arm against my chest and started hitting upward with my elbow. Sharp, repeated blows to the same spot. Over and over. The wood splintered. My elbow bled. But the crack got wider. Then something strange happened. I heard a sound above me. Not dirt shifting. Not wind. Movement. Soft footsteps. Like someone walking slowly around the hole. I froze. Pressed my face to the crack. Silence. Then one slow scrape, like a shovel dragging along the dirt. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I stayed quiet. Waited. Then the footsteps moved away. Disappeared. I worked faster after that. Kicked until the wood cracked wide enough to let in soil. It poured fast. I turned sideways. Shielded my face. Pulled myself upward, inch by inch. The dirt was soft enough to push through. Fresh. Still loose. That saved me. I clawed my way to the surface. Lungs burning, throat raw, mouth full of soil. When I broke through, it was dusk. I lay there coughing, eyes adjusting. I was in a clearing. Woods all around. The hole behind me barely visible, unless you knew to look. There were no roads, no paths, no signs. But beside the hole was something worse. A second mound, untouched, Still packed. Still full. And beside it, a single wooden board, with my name already carved into it. I didn't run at first. I stood there beside the grave for what felt like hours. Not frozen by fear, just unsure of what counted as real anymore. My legs were shaking, but my hands were steady. I kept staring at that untouched mound next to mine. Same dimensions, same soil, same kind of wood marker, only the surface was blank. But when I leaned in closer, I saw it wasn't. Faint lines, scratches carved deep into the grain. Not a name, not words, just marks. 13 vertical slashes, all grouped to one side. A pattern, or maybe a countdown. The other markers nearby were older. I brushed dirt from a few with my sleeve. Some had names, some didn't. Some were blank except for tally marks, uneven, worn down by time or weather, or maybe by something trying to erase them. One had 7. Another had 21. All clustered within eyesight of the pit I had clawed myself from. I left them behind. I staggered toward the trees, breathing shallow and fast. I told myself I needed to get out of the clearing before something returned. I don't know what I thought might come back. A person, an animal, the thing I heard walking above me while I was still under. I found a narrow game trail that wound through the woods. Every 50 feet or so, I saw signs someone had passed through small stacks of stones, single twigs bent at angles and tucked into tree trunks, pieces of cloth nailed to bark like markers. Each one had a tally scratched into it. Every time I passed a new one, the number was lower. 12, 11, 10. They weren't directions. They were warnings. Like something was counting me back to something it still remembered. I kept moving. The sun dipped behind the treetops. Dusk fell hard. The shadows between the trees grew long and cold. I heard no birds, no wind, just the crack of my own steps, and once the sound of something further off, snapping softly, and then stopping, like it had waited for me to hear it. Eventually, I reached a clearing. A square, man-made space. 4 concrete walls, chest high, with no roof and no clear purpose. Maybe the foundation of an old building. It looked abandoned for decades. Inside, a single wooden chair. And something draped over it. A jacket. Mine. I stepped in slowly. On the seat sat a folded piece of paper, torn from a spiral notebook. I picked it up. On one side, 3 names. The first was crossed out. The second was faded. The third was mine, clear as daylight. And beside it, a new tally. 3. I dropped the paper. Something shifted behind me. A breeze, without any air. I turned no one there. The jacket was now on the ground. And on the back wall, something had been scratched into the concrete. I didn't see it until I was almost out. 1 sentence. You were dead for 4 minutes. No explanation, no time frame. Just that. I ran. I reached a road after another hour. 2-lane blacktop with no traffic. No lights. I walked it for half a mile before I saw headlights. I waved them down. The driver stopped. Took one look at me. Didn't ask much. Said I looked like I'd been hit by something worse than a car. They dropped me at the nearest hospital. I gave them a fake name. I didn't want questions. I didn't want anyone knowing I had come back. That night, I slept in a hospital bed with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the earth again, pressing in around me. Warm, breathless. I left the hospital the next morning. There was a note in the locker they gave me for my clothes. No envelope. Just 1 line on a torn piece of receipt paper. We were waiting for the 4th mark. Since then, it's happened 5 more times. Marks. Tally sets. Always in unexpected places. Etched into a receipt at the bottom of my grocery bag. Drawn into condensation on the inside of a coffee shop window. Scratched into the paint of my front door barely visible until the sun hit it just right. Each one accompanied by that same thick feeling in the air, like something is behind me, smiling. I stopped checking mirrors. I stopped sleeping without a light. I don't know who did it. I don't know what they left behind. But I keep seeing that number go up. I was buried once, and whatever dug me out didn't do it to save me.